Hey guys, we got this 2010 Camry here. I'm going to show you how to change rear struts on these. So first thing you're going to want to do is we'll go into the back seat here, and we need to lift up the back seat. So first off, if you have a bunch of stuff in the seat, clear all that stuff out. And then what you're going to do is reach underneath of the seat here, and there's going to be two metal U-hooks. One that's here, and then one that's in the same spot on the other side. So you're just gonna reach underneath of here and pull up. Sometimes they're fairly tight, but they will disengage. And then once the seat is disengaged on both sides, we can lift it up and slide it out. Just like that. Now, what we need to do is, you'll see, if you look down underneath of here, there'll be a bolt just beside where the seat belt bolts onto the body. And that bolt holds these side cushions on that sit beside your seats. So once we remove that bolt, looks like it's a 12 mil. We will then lift the seat cushion up, and there's a hook that hooks onto the back. It'll disengage, and we can take this portion out, and that'll give us some access to where the struts mount to the body of the car. Perfect, so we just set that bolt there and go ahead and lift up on this like so. And you may need to put your seat down. Oops, I need the other one. So we can just lift up. Now there's a little slot in this piece of plastic here for your seat belt. And then all you gotta do is just feed that through. Just like this. And now we can remove this piece here. So once this piece is off, you just set it aside. And if you take a look in there, you can see the top of the struts are right there. Very easy to access. And we'll do we'll loosen off and remove two of the nuts, and just loosen off but leave on a few threads the last nut, and then we can go ahead and remove our wheel. Oops. Okay, so these three bolts are actually 12 mil compared to the front that are 14. So I'm just gonna go ahead and loosen off that one and remove it. I'll do this back one. And then the one that's closest to this side, the pillar, I'm just going to loosen it off almost all the way. But I will leave it on a few threads, and that's gonna just keep the strut attached to the car and allow us to remove everything else. And then at last, we will remove that nut, and the strut should just come right out. So go ahead and remove all of these 21 mil wheel nuts. This should be 21 mil at least. Now we can get our wheel off. Now you can see that it's loose in here, but because we left that one nut on the top, everything still stays secured. It's not dropped down and trying to fall out on you. What we need to do now is remove this 12 mil bolt. 14 mil bolt. That's gonna hold our ABS line on and our brake line on. Once we get that off, we need to remove our sway bar link here. If you have very, very rusty threads like these, I recommend you clean them the best that you can. Maybe put penetrating oil on them if you can, if you don't have access to heat. And I'm going to use a torch, but if you use heat, obviously proceed with caution, because this rubber boot can melt, and also the inside of that joint has a nylon cup inside of it that can also melt and then may damage that link. So I'm gonna clean these up the best I can, get a bit of heat into them to remove that nut because they're very stubborn. This is the hardest part probably of changing this strut. Once that is off, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these 2 bolts that mount the strut to the knuckle down here. And they're not too bad to do. We may need to remove this brake caliper assembly to gain access to these. If you can't get in there, if you don't have a wrench, if you only have a socket or something like that, you may have to take this off to gain access to that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this and then I'll get started on that sway bar link nut. Put some oil on that. Usually these things snap off, they get really rusty and whatever, so I just move it back and forth a bunch of times so I get some space, and then I'll spray it with some penetrating oil to hopefully get it out without it breaking. Ooh, we chanced it and we won. So now this is off. I'm gonna get my drill with a wire brush and I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this dirt and rust off there and try to clean those threads up best I can. Okay, so I'm sorry I lied to you. This was actually a 12 mil bolt, not a 14. The sway bar link nuts are 14. If you clean the center out of these, there's actually like a spot for a hex key to go in or an Allen key. I believe they're a 5 mil back here. They're a 6 mil for the front. But these things get seized and then it'll spin the stud. You'll see. Okay. Sweet, if I just say that to the other side, then maybe it'll come off too. Usually those things, it'll just spin the stud. You can see this one's all mangled up. Maybe somebody's been in here, but that's exactly what you want to happen. You want that nut to just come right off. That's the best situation. If that stud decides to start spinning, then you can either cut them off and replace them. You can try to use vice grips and get in behind and hold the stud from spinning. You can put a bit of heat into them. There's a couple different things you can do, but anyhow, so this is off now. I'm just going to get that. So now that's out of the way, we can go ahead and remove our 2 big bolts and nuts. They are 19 millimeter nut and 19 millimeter bolt head. So go ahead and loosen those off and remove those, and we'll be able to get the strut out. Actually, sorry, these are a little different than the front. There's actually a 10 mil bolt that holds this ABS bracket on. That's gonna also need to come off. So I gotta get that off as well. Okay, place your bets. Is this bolt gonna break off or is it not gonna break off? Oh, first I gotta get onto it. All right, ready? Wow, I couldn't believe that actually just came out. Probably put some heat into that. Yeah, so if your threads were as rusty as mine were, you may run into that issue where, you know, threads are supposed to be clean and dry, right? So then the nut comes off, but it gets all jammed up because I didn't clean the rust off, but whatever. Lube is your best friend in that case. Once we get those nuts off, we can pull those bolts out. And once we get those off, we can work our strut loose from the knuckle. And now we can just go ahead and reach inside the car here. We should be able to just undo that one nut that's left over. And then you can go ahead and remove your strut from the car just like so. And then we'll go grab the other strut and make sure that you get the right side, because they do change from side to side based on these mounts here for where the sway bar link goes on, and then your brake line and ABS harness. Those brackets switch from side to side. So yeah, go ahead and we'll grab those and put those in. So be right back. This time I ever use those. Okay, so as you can see, this strut here has this weird design on it, and the reason they do that is just to confuse you. There's really no reason at all why they do it. I don't know. If you know, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, so these nuts that were supplied with these ones are 13 mil, and you can see that they're they're like squished, and they do that. They're actually a locking nut. They do that and distort the threads when you put them on, just so they don't ever back off. But just take those and throw them right in the garbage because they're junk. And then grab your OEM nuts. Whoops. Grab your OEM nuts because these fit on there. Just take a look and make sure they fit before you throw your nuts out. But they do fit on there, and they're going to be way nicer. And they're not 13 mil. They're original 12 mil. Or, yeah, 12 mil. So go ahead and start the bolt or the nuts to your strut, and then what we're going to do is just do what we just did but in reverse. So we'll tighten the knuckle to the strut, and then we're going to go ahead and install our sway bar link, and then we'll go ahead and install these two lines here, and we'll snug everything up, make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Then we'll be able to put our wire on. Get the other one because the caliper's in mine. All right, so just make sure that this brake hose is going around over the knuckle and not behind the strut. And we're gonna go ahead and tighten down this. Tighten down that bolt. Same with the bottom one here. Just like that, and go ahead and install our ABS line with our little 10 mil and our brake line with our 12 mil. Then we can go ahead and install our sway bar link. Perfect. like that. Those two are tight, knuckle of the struts are tight, sway bar link's tight. Everything looks good. Give it a final check over. I'm happy with that. Go ahead and stick our wheel on. Torque wheel nuts down to 76 foot-pounds. And then we go ahead and snug down these bolts, or these nuts that are holding the strut to the body. And then go ahead and put the seat stuff back together. And that'll be it. So by setting the car down, using the weight of the car, now pushes that strut into the body so it exposes all the threads. It's tougher if you have it up on a jack, so you're gonna have to pull the strut into the body. So you can get those pretty well started there, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and snug these down, get all three of them tightened up here. They don't have to be super tight, just snug, you know? Don't wanna break those studs off. Okay, so we take this piece here and go ahead and put our seat belt in. You could do this last if you want, but I like to just get it in now. And then you'll notice on the back here we've got this hook, so that's going to go into this little spot right here. So we sort of line it up, make sure the seat belt's not interfering. Perfect. Then all you gotta do is just put your seats back up, and we'll slide the seat in. Okay, so you'll see these little hooks here. They just slide underneath. There's spots for them. What you gotta do is lift your seat belts up. It's really not hard to install the seat, but you sort of just slide that down like so. Make sure your seat belts are in the slots. And then you just feel for those U-shaped tangs that are underneath. Push the seat in until they line up, and then all you gotta do is just push down on them until they seat. So that one's good. And this one. There, you'll hear them sort of snap in place. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.